Real estate agent? Are you looking to acquire clients consistently so you can grow your business and your income to live a great lifestyle? This is Dave Finale and the RE Skill Builder Podcast.
And here we are. Welcome, everybody. This is Real Estate Talk, TGIF, episode 151. That's right, 151 episodes in 148 straight weeks. We've had several extra shows, and we've had all kinds of greats on this broadcast. And today, we've got nonetheless great than anybody else. We've got another great, another innovator, another great top agent, Tristan Ahumada from the West Coast, from California. You're a Keller Williams agent, right?
I am, yes.
Keller Williams agent, and also probably known a little bit as the CEO of Lab Coat Agents. Welcome, man.
I'm happy to be here, buddy.
I'm glad you're here, man. Look, I ask everybody to start of every broadcast, do you know what TGIF stands for?
I think I do, but I could be wrong. Is it Thank God It's Friday or?
Well, you're really close, Tristan, and I really appreciate the effort, but it's actually Thank God It's Finale. It makes sense, right? When I named the broadcast 3 years ago, I didn't do that on purpose. It just happened to work out. I wanted to do it Friday mornings, whatever. So here we are. Man, I've been watching you for a very, very long time. I think you have a personality and an attitude that is second to none in our industry, where we're talking about real estate agent, real estate entrepreneur, a man that believes in technology, et cetera, et cetera. And, I want to thank you for everything that you've brought to the table over the years. And also, let's start talking about why and how you got to bringing all that to the table. Where'd you start? How'd you get to where you are now?
Great question, man. So it probably started and the transition from coming out of college into real estate at the right time, because as soon as I jumped into real estate, everything was changing in the real estate world, from having an MLS book to everything being online. And then a year later, DocuSign started popping up. And then the world changed with short sales and electronic signatures. And I had to adapt because I was in growth mode mentally.
Right.
And I thought that was normal. And so as that started changing, I was like, oh, what else is changing? The whole world in real estate?
It keeps changing, right?
Yeah. And that was such a dramatic change, because most agents were used to doing things a certain way, that Zillow and then Facebook, Realtor.com, and obviously our little phones, right? The iPhone came out in 2007.
Right.
That really changed everything. And because I was already in that process of coming in and being used to not settling for what was there.
Right.
I just jumped right into it, and I was like, okay, this is the norm. I just need to keep on doing this and adapt this and bring this on. And that took a life of its own, because as I started understanding search engine optimization, pay-per-click, then Zillow leads and Realtor.com leads and Facebook leads, I'm like, oh, this is pretty much the same thing over and over. It's just the way you do it slightly changes. And so that's what really started it, right? Because I was like, online leads, all in, and that was the beginning of it.
So with online leads, you talk a lot about conversion and drips and stuff, and I've seen some of your stuff recently that you've done. When we talk about online leads, I have a reason for asking this question, because I asked someone the same question 2 weeks ago. What's important about online leads? What is the most important thing? Is it still what everybody says it is, speed to lead?
No, not at all. It's
Cool.
It's all about increasing your database and trying to connect with people at the earliest stage. You can't look at online leads and be like, oh, it's speed to lead. No. You look at what are the people that are spending millions and millions and millions, Zillow, Redfin, CoStar, all these companies. Why the hell are they buying all of these other companies to complete the cycle and the process of getting the consumer at the very beginning and never letting them go? Why? Because they want a piece of the action, our action, right?
Right.
And what are they doing? They're being there at the very beginning, and they're not letting go, right? And that's what we've got all wrong. We're like, speed to lead, speed to lead. No, that's a given, of course.
Right.
It's the long-term nurture, that care, right?
So I've always talked about, there's three types of leads coming in. And this is, everybody has their opinion, right? So there's the lead there's the now lead, which is, anywhere from 0 to 3, 4, 5, 6 months. And then there's the 6 months to 24 months. And then there's never. And I look at the 6 to 24 months as that nurture. And I look at the never as the huge nurture as well, where they might not do anything, but if you're sending them stuff, they might see it. But that 2 or 6 to 24 month is really the important nurture that you talk about. Would you agree with that, as far as making sure they know that you're still there and you're giving them relevant content? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. And there's a lot of tech pieces that go into play when it comes to this longer term nurture that a lot of agents just don't have. Right.
So we see, all these drip campaigns and all this other stuff. And we also see, like the 10 days of pain. We've seen that from Ben Kinney from years ago, and different ways of doing it. What is the best way, in your opinion, to approach a lead coming in through your marketing efforts, be it Facebook, be it Zillow, be it your own internet system?
Yeah. So we go actually the opposite route. And we've also noticed that the world changes, right?
Yeah.
And we can see that both in the scripts that are used, both in the way we communicate with people. It's changing, and it's always going to continue to change. And so one thing that worked 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, of course, that approach, that tonality isn't going to work right now.
That's right.
And so we have to keep that first at the very front of what we do. And with that, know that because of that, we're always going to have to be going back and saying, well, how are we communicating through our online presence with our people, right? Whether it's texting, voicemail, email, retargeting through Facebook and Instagram, or remarketing, or just in general, the search engine optimization that we're putting into our websites through those words that we're using, the search terms, the keywords, the video messages that we put out on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok. What is that? And we have to continually change with the time, not just with the hot topic or the things that people are looking up, but how people are communicating with each other is important. And dude, if you just don't stay on top of that, you're going to be using the same tone that you were 20 years ago, or the same drips that you were using 8 years ago. And it's a whole different world to connect with these people. And so I think that's first. Second is you actually have to take time to create this, right? Or team up with somebody, or hire somebody, or work with somebody that has these, that's continually adapting as well. Because the biggest challenge I see is that people think that they can just grow a big team, if that's the way you want to go, team, brokerage, and just continually call people. And there's nothing wrong with that. In some businesses, like in my luxury world out here in Malibu, you could definitely make a killing, like millions and millions in commission a year calling people. That's cool. But in other places, the ability to do that because the commission is so low or not as high, it's challenging. And that's where you have to bring in more technology as well, which is, what are you using to automate the texting? Right? After you figured out, well, my messaging is authentic, it makes sense, it connects with people.
Absolutely.
What are you using to make sure that you are remarketing to people on Facebook and Instagram so that it happens automatically, and that people see your IDX feed, and as they click on property, it changes, and you use it more like a nurturing drip of properties? What are you using for that? And then how are you staying on top of your past clients through retargeting them by like digital door knocking, through understanding what their IP address is, right? And are you bringing in mailers? Are you using video? Are you having events? Events obviously were out of the question for COVID, but people were still doing online events and making communities on Facebook. So there are a lot of pieces that you can add to this, but I think people limit themselves to what they know and they feel comfortable, and they're like, yeah, you know what? I can't do what Dave's doing. No, that won't work here. No, that's not for me. And that's the challenge, right? It comes back to growth mindset versus fixed mindset with Carol Dweck, right? Fixed mindset, thinking that you are the way you are, you're not going to grow, you can't change,
Absolutely.
it's just the way it is. And a growth mindset, knowing that things are always changing, we're always progressing, we don't always remain the person we are. And when I look at competition, it motivates me and inspires me instead of feeling a big sense of envy and hate. And that's a big difference.
That's really cool the way you said that. It's like you look at all these big companies. Like I know a big company out in San Diego County that decided last year at this time that they were doing 200 to 300 million in production, and they decided to trash everything that they were doing and restart. Right? Restart the way they were, converting the way the technology they were using, et cetera. Right. And they really didn't necessarily have a breakdown, because we always hear that you need a good breakdown to have a great breakthrough. They just saw that things were changing. Right. And that's the way to look at it. So understanding what we're talking about here, there's that agent or that team or that company or that office that says, this is the way we are. This is the way we've always done things. Mm-hmm. How do you, as an individual, as a coach, as a business model, say, hey, this is how you make that change? Or how do you make that change? How do you get somebody out of their comfort zone? Is it just talking about mindset? What is it?
That's a combination of a lot of things. And the one thing that I can tell you that stands out above everything else is your environment. And when I talk about your environment, I mean the people that you surround yourself with, right? The same thing we've heard all the time. It's what you listen to consistently, whether it's audiobooks, podcasts, webinars, what you're reading, right? What you're ingesting into your mind, and what you take time to read and apply as well. So, Dave, you've done these, this is 151, episode 151.
Yep.
That's insanity, man. I love that. But when you talk to people, when you talk to these 150 previous people, there have been some things that you're like, oh, damn, that's true. And the thing we don't do enough of is surround ourselves with people that see things differently, so that we can take the time and say, whoa, that I didn't think about it like that. And they may be right. I need to keep an open mind, because I know that the way I'm doing things is only working right now. It may not work tomorrow that way. Right. Exactly. And that's the biggest problem. We have these massive brokerages that we all know the names of, that continually do business in the same way. And even when they come out and buy these tech companies or these other companies and bring them into the fold, the problem is they still have the same way of doing business. And then they mess up these companies that they buy, because they're still looking at the world in the same way. So I need you to surround yourself with people that challenge you, that contradict the way you do things. Like,
yes,
Dave, the way I learned this, and I was lucky enough to marry a woman 24 years in now, marry a woman that consistently contradicts everything I do. And I thought that was terrible at the beginning. But as we started growing our relationship, I realized that is one of the most amazing strengths, like, ever. She's the one who came up with the concept of going into Lab Coat Agents as a Facebook group, right? She's the one that gives me the most amazing ideas, and I always shoot them down. I'm like, no, that's a terrible idea. And then I revisit it, because I've learned to be like, all right, maybe I shoot things down at the beginning, but I actually reflect on it and say, well, maybe am I doing things wrong? And that's it right there. It's starting with humility. And we don't do that. We typically start with the ego. We're like, whoa, what? You're telling me what? No.
Exactly.
That's the key right there.
So, what I can personally, for me, I mean, it's been, I had my brokerage. I sold that 3.5 years ago, and I've been doing this. I've been tiptoeing through the tulips, so to speak, trying to build, a small brokerage company and working with EXP as a certified mentor and all that stuff, and done very well with it. But the thing is, I've made a lot of mistakes along the way, and one of the things I realized as I reflected was that being alone and doing things on my own, which I've done forever, probably could use some change, right? So I said, okay. So I remember once a number of years ago where someone recommended or advised me not to do something, and I did it, and it blew up in my face. And I've never forgotten that, where I didn't think about the advice. So now I'm thinking about that, and it's like this. It's like the devil and the angel, whatever it is, saying, "Do this, no, don't do that. Do this, don't do that. You know what you're doing. Damn it! Don't listen to anybody else." It's getting through this stupid bullshit of stubbornness that you've got to take. And that's what I've started to do. And here's the interesting part, Tristan. As I started to make that change, dude, I'm 63 years old and I just started making that change. Things have started to happen very positively for me. It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've been successful to a point where I was good at it, but now I want to be better. I just want to keep helping people. Talk to me about, change gears here a little bit. Talk to me about the way Lab Coat Agents started. What was the idea there? And now it's gotten to, it's amazing where it's gotten to with the referral part and all that other stuff. Tell me about how that started.
Yeah, so it started, I was speaking around the nation for Realtor.com about online lead conversion, right? That one thing. And I was on a flight with my wife and my kids. And I was like, hey, honey, this isn't going to last forever. Realtor.com is going to end up picking somebody else who's the cool dude at the time or a cool dudette. And she said, yeah, I think you're right. I said, I want to start a blog. And she's like, no, don't start a blog. Why don't you start a Facebook group? Those look like they're just brand new. And it looks like it's a place where people can come in and they're already on Facebook. I'm like, that doesn't sound like a good idea, but I'll think about it. And then I started a Facebook group, right? Because I reflected on her idea and I was like, that might be a great idea. So that's how it started. Realtor.com helped us push it from the ground floor for me and my wife. And then I grew it and then I brought in amazing people. One of those was Nick Baldwin, who then with him, we created a company out of Lab Coat Agents, and then now is a multi-million-dollar media and education company.
Congratulations. That's great, man. I mean, I've like I said, I don't know if I was there in the beginning, but I was there close, and I just watching it and being a part of it and seeing it and watching you for a long time, right? So one of the things that I've read, and I try to learn as much as I can about the people that come on the broadcast, is that, one of the things that pushes you is, knowing how to create great systems for the real estate world and making sure that agents have access to all of them. What do you look at as far as what's really helping agents today?
I really think it's twofold. Number one, they have a challenge mentally. It goes up and down. They're on a high when things are going great. And all of a sudden, the next minute, they're on a low when they didn't get an offer accepted, when they lost a client,
right,
when something went wrong, and they don't know how to manage those emotions. And I think that just comes to just human nature in general, right? It just falls in the real estate category because this is where we're in. So I think one is the ability to maintain a more positive outlook on the way life happens as a real estate agent, number one.
Right.
And number two is helping people create processes and systems to be able to duplicate success that other people have had, right? And I think both of those together is really what we try to focus on. We try to bring in tech here, a little bit of tech over here, some processes, some drips. And the most important thing, because this is how most people are motivated and inspired, is by watching what other people have done. And so we interview some of the top agents,
right,
some of the new successes we've seen as well, and then in different verticals as well, not just real estate. And we bring them in and we show them as examples and say, look, they're doing this, they're using this, and here's an opportunity to look into their world and see how they've succeeded.
Yeah, exactly. So all right. So one of the things you said is partial of what a lot of people tell new agents to do. Find someone that's successful and copy them. I think that's a great thought process. It's a great instruction, but I think there's an issue with that. And the issue is that I see a lot of people coming into this business. And what I see is, I want to be an investor. I want to be a flipper. So I figured I should get my license and learn about this, and this. And what happens is with some of these newer agents or people coming in, they go to copy someone that's successful, but they're just copying the surface. They're not looking at the entire process, the entire company, just to use that word, of the individual. How do you, number one, have you seen that? Would you agree with that? And how do you change that for new agents?
I think the biggest challenge with that is that when we're looking at copying something, we're only looking at a finished product, right? Yes. The refinement of it. This is what the system and process looks like now that we've perfected it or have gotten it really good, right? And so one thing that we have to rewind and take a look at is that effort that was placed into this consistently over time to be able to get there. And I think that's where we have to change habits, the fundamental actions that we take on a daily basis that allow us to create who we are and who we become in the future. Right. And that's really where I look at the first challenge that I brought up, which was looking at things that happen to you and in your life in a positive light, right? Because look, we have the choice to look at things in two ways. One, damn it, it's happening to me. I can't believe it. Why does this keep on happening to me? The other one is, all right, this happened. What am I going to do about it? I wonder what I can do better the next time, right? So two ways of looking at things, and it's the same thing. So this is why I want people to choose, how can I do better the next time? What can I learn from it? That way. Now you apply that to consistent action in the right direction, right? Then all of a sudden your world starts changing because you're actually applying the things that you've learned along the way. And the one thing that I always tell people is one quote from Tony Stark, Iron Man 1.
I know what you're going to say.
The movie, right? Sometimes we got to run
before we can walk.
Yeah. And so I love that, dude. I love that one a lot. And I don't think that people truly understand that. Like, just take the leap. Nobody has this figured out, right? Even me, half the time I just do things and then I'm like, oh, got it. Let me write that process down and deconstruct it so I can do it better next time. But I wouldn't have been able to understand that process if I didn't jump in.
So, I work with this guy here on the East Coast. We do an accountability and coaching call 6 nights a week. Sunday is a planning session, and then Monday through Friday at 8:00 Eastern time is as a coaching accountability. I do that with Sekou Pyle. He built this thing. It's called Commitment to Capping. And one of the things that we've come up with is very similar to that. Well, it's not the same words, but it's kind of the same point. It's like, make a mess and clean it up to progress, right? It's okay to make mistakes. And I believe that's what you're talking about when it comes to sometimes we got to run before you can walk. And basically you're saying just go for it, right?
Yeah, just go for it. Stop overthinking it. Stop thinking that you're ever going to have it down so right that you're going to be ready, right? Because you're not. You're never going to be ready.
So as an experienced and top real estate agent, I ask this same question to a lot of people. And the question is, if you had to get a listing by next Friday night, in 1 week, what would you do?
Call for sale by owners.
Okay, so out of 10 people that I've asked, do you know how many people have said the same thing?
Out of 10.
You are correct, sir.
Yeah, because we're real estate agents. We know what's going on.
That's right.
Come on. Anything else would be a lie.
Okay, so call for sale by owners. But the answer to that comment or the extension is that, well, Dave, there's not as many for sale by owners now. And they say that, you know what, I don't need you. I can sell it myself.
They can. But look, how badly do you want it, man? And sometimes the new agents need to know that, look, they don't have the experience. They don't have the knowledge. They don't have the tools. They don't have anything. So sometimes, and not a lot of people are going to tell this to your face, but sometimes all you have to negotiate is a commission, because that's the only value you have. And if that's when it's going to get you in the door to get to that next step and get the experience, then do it. Don't ever let the industry tell you otherwise, because they're not paying your bills, right? Do we discount our commission now? Hardly ever. Would I do it at the beginning to get started and get my motivation and confidence going? Hell yes, every single time.
That's huge. That's huge. Talk to me about what you think the future is today. We've kind of up against the time, but I want to ask you about, are there any new, three questions in one. Are there any new disruptors? Is there any new technology we should watch out for? Mm-hmm. And where does the virtual world continue to go for us?
Oh, great question, dude. Write down my line. I love this. So yes, there are disruptors, but we're not looking at the right ones. We keep on saying Zillow and CoStar and all these things. The disruptors are going to come from a different direction. And that's, I feel, in two sectors. Number one, artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence being applied to search engine optimization. Artificial intelligence being applied to communication with the consumer, right? Being able to take a consumer from almost all the way down to setting the appointment until you need the agent, right? That whole section taken over by natural language, artificial intelligence. That's important. Then you look at search engine optimization, where you can have artificial intelligence come in and create this SEO. They're already creating some SEO, and they're already creating some social media content. They're already creating some blogs. Well, they're going to eventually create a lot of the SEO and now fight it out for page one of Google for companies like Zillow, Redfin, CoStar, you name it. Anybody who pays enough to create these bots that control AI, that create SEO, right? That's who you have to watch out for on that end. But not very many people are talking about that. The next thing you have to look at, and this is a little bit into the future, so this could take tangents here and there, Dave.
Sure.
And that's right now the world that we live in. Apple and Google control the whole world. Look how it's shut down. They're the ones who control the apps, right? Forget the actual app like Twitter. Who can shut down Twitter? Apple and Google. They shut down Parler, right?
Yep.
So pay attention to who owns the world, Google and Apple. Now, they control the world because they control the App Store and they control the browsers, right?
Right.
Now, let's take a look at what Facebook is doing while nobody's paying attention. They've invested billions into the Oculus. They have this place called Horizon, Google it. And they're in essence creating the future of what browsers look like, where you pop in your Oculus and Dave, you want to see property? Well, all the properties are in 3D now. So meet me at 123 Palm Street with your Oculus and I'll show you this home. And then we can go to the next home without jumping into a car. You want to visit the Apple store? That's awesome. Just pop in an Oculus, pick whatever you want and buy it. What is it? Does that even make sense? It does. Look at NFTs, non-fungible tokens, right? Gary Vee's talking all over the internet about NFTs. That's the ability to purchase these digital art, not real art, and be able to hold that for however much time you want. But where are you going to place it? You place it in a virtual world eventually.
Right.
And so let's think Ready Player One, the book or the movie, if you've seen it. That's the future. The battleground is not the browser that you and I know right now that we're on. It's not the social platforms that you and I know. The battleground is going to be a virtual world. How that virtual world functions and why we will fight over this is because that's where the future is, man. Like, this is where we're going to be.
So Tristan, hasn't Verbella done some of that? Isn't that what we're talking about? Or is Verbella just the surface?
No, Verbella is, look, Verbella is great, but Verbella is like, I like Verbella, but it's not there. No, it's much more immersive. It's much deeper. That's just barely scratching what the future is going to look like. And the whole purpose of it is Dave, at the end of the day, you want to be in a community, right? That's similar to that, but more immersive, where you're there and you actually feel that you're there and your senses feel it too, right? And right now it's just a screen. It's still in the browser, right? When the experience changes away from the browser to an actual full-on experience, that's where it changes. And look, just Google Horizon so you can start seeing the future of it. And Google Facebook Tech. You can then understand what Facebook is doing, because nobody's paying attention to what Facebook is doing on the back end. They're not just a social media company anymore, right? And then people think they're dying. They're the #3 most visited website in the world, right below Google and YouTube. So pay attention, everyone. That's where the next battleground is. AI in those forms, and also the future of what the browsers look like.
And then the virtual world of everything we're doing has made that shift. I said last year I did one of these broadcasts with Tom Ferry, and Tom said he doesn't see anything coming up. And then the pandemic hit. The pandemic was the disruptor that we're living through, is forcing the acknowledgement of everything you just said. Yeah. Everything you said, without question. Tristan, I want to be respectful of your time. I want to thank you so much for coming on. There's two things I have to go through before we say goodbye to each other. One is, there's a question that I ask everybody. It's really important to me, and I ask it from the bottom of my heart. How can I help you grow your business?
Dude, just keep on supporting Lab Coat Agents and follow me on social, on Instagram and YouTube, and I'll be a happy guy. How can I support you?
Well, I tell you what, I mean, I just want to keep doing what I'm doing and helping people and working with people that want to work. So that's a great question. Thank you for asking that question, first of all. How you can support me? Hey, man, just keep doing what you're doing. And, hopefully someday you and I could collaborate on something. Who knows? You never know. We might run into each other somewhere.
We definitely will.
But lastly, the last thing is, we know why I finally get you on the broadcast is you had to get one of these hats.
I've been wanting one of those.
You're going to get one, and you might have to throw me one of yours too on the way back.
Definitely. You know what, Dave? I can't wait to be in a world like Horizon, like Facebook, and be like, you want my hat? Hold on, right? A non-fungible token, I'll throw it at you. I can even wear it like in all the games like Minecraft. And that's the world, dude. That's the world that's coming.
That's amazing. Hey, man, again, thanks so much. Just hang out for 1 second as we finish up the broadcast, and talk to you in a minute. Thank you, everybody, for watching, whether you watch it live or you watch it later. Talk to you all later.